So I've been procrastinating a lot of this video, and I've been sitting on it for quite some time, gathering thoughts, looking at events, and also talking to other people about the ban list. And it is going to be coming out late August, so I'd rather get this out now than never, because I want to share my thoughts and opinions on what predictions I have on my whole entire list of cards that there are. But honestly, some of these may come off as random for people, but also it definitely helps that I explain some of these. So let's get the obvious one out of the way. That would be Beatrice, Lady of the Eternal. Definitely gonna get banned. People are saying that, oh, she's not gonna be banned because Maiden with Blue Tears is getting reprinted in the Megatins. No, that's not how that works. If they reprint a card in the tins, it's normally because it was in a set that they said in the product description. And we've seen Transaction Rollback, and now we've seen Maiden with Blue Tears. And honestly, Beatrice is one of these cards that definitely needs to go because of the utility that it has with the Fiendsmith engine, with running it in things like your Snake Eye decks, and even in other things like Tearlament, because she's been a staple in Tearlament since 2022. But realistically, overall, Beatrice has not been healthy for the game over the course of the time span that she's been out, which is, I believe, almost 10 years. And honestly, seeing Beatrice go will definitely make it where you get cut off on a lot of starters in Snake Eye, because especially with Rage of the Abyss coming around with Lacrima, the Scarlet Sorrow, you're going to have more extenders than you really need. And honestly, it would be very hard to replace the Beatrice. It would force players to run things like Foolish Burial and also 1-for-1 in the main deck more than having to use a extra deck slot just to Foolish a card. And after that, we're going to be looking at my other Snake Eye hit, which I also tested with a couple people. Snake Eye Oak. Snake Eye Oak is the only card in the whole entire Snake Eye deck that people play that hasn't gotten a QCR or even an ultimate rare. We see that things like Flameburge, Wanted, Dibelstar, Divine Temple, Original Sinful Spoil, they all have QCRs. You have Snake Eye Ash on the ulti spree, and realistically, I definitely think that Oak is one of the more definite bans that could happen because it really doesn't have a high impact on what you can pull out of any of the product that it's in, being if it's in the Megatin, it's in the Megatin, but also you have Age of Overlord. Now, removing this card gets rid of the recursion from summoning a monster that's a level 1 Pyro from the grave to the field or adding it back to hand. So it would stop the recursion of an extra body in any way that there is. And realistically, hitting this card also makes it where it's a little harder to access Flameburge because you have to utilize your one copy of Snake Eye Ash super carefully. And once that Flameburge hits the board, you don't have another way just to go, oh, effect, send to the grave to summon something out. And you have to specifically link it away. So getting rid of Oak definitely hurts the recursion of the deck. And overall, definitely one that is on a few people's lists, but not a lot on others. And I usually have one wildcard ban on all my ban lists, and this one is going to be a shocker, but we've seen it see play in quite a bit of decks over the course of the past, I don't know how long, being Selene, Master of the Magicians. So the Link 3 Selene, I could kind of see getting banned because of the utility that there is. We've seen it in a lot of other decks because it gets you up into an Appaloosa by summoning her out, using her effect, summoning back Snake Eye Dibelstar, and then going up into the Appaloosa. And also, it cuts off the Charmer line, where you can go Charmer plus Monster into Selene, revive Dibelstar, to go into Appaloosa or an access code Talker, so it solves a lot of issues that there are. Now, hitting it definitely could solve a lot of issues in the future, because knowing spellcasters, they will get some support that will break her, especially with how much utility she has with spell counters. And we've seen in the past how powerful she could be, especially with the Exodia FTK that we saw Jeff Leonard play, and many times before, because she's just there just to go, oh, I have a spellcaster engrave, I can summon out a charmer to take your monster of the same attribute to go up into her, and then I can revive my spellcaster so I can go into access code to instantly OTK you. So that is my wildcard hit for the banned section. But let's take a look at the limited section now. Now, first off, I want to kind of start off with the one thing in the room being Skill Drain. Skill Drain is just one of these cards that definitely should have went back down to 1, or shouldn't have gone to 3 in the first place, because of what there is that it is being utilized in. A lot of your current meta decks are playing it, like Snake Eye, but also you have Whitewood, and you could just instantly turn it off with Snake Eye Ash or Snake Eye Oak, or even in Whitewoods, all your monsters, pretty much the level 2s shut it off, so just sending it to the graveyard. And overall, I definitely think Skill Drain going down to 1 would solve a few issues here and there that players have. Now, this next one is going to be a unlimit, or a card going from 0 to 1, because the Megatins, we have Summon Sorceress. We still haven't gotten the errata of this card, and I feel like it could be a prismatic secret rare in the Megatins to coincide with this ban list. It's the perfect place to put it, or they can put it in Bonanza as a QCR, so there's that they can do as well. But overall, Summon Sorc hasn't really been seeing much play in the OCG because of the text change. Being able, it locks you from the deck of the monster type that you summoned, which honestly definitely can hinder a lot of strategies that used to use it, especially things like Goki, or even other things like, oh, I forgot all the decks it was in, even warrior decks, I think, because it locks you off of a lot of cool things that you could do, but it's definitely worth getting that errata. Now, this is a hit more for the EU side of the things, and a lot of people definitely say that this card should be at 1. Even players of this specific deck say it should be at 1. We have Aromach Seraphie Jasmine. Jasmine is one of these cards that is kind of really ridiculous on the scale of power, being able to just search stuff on a whim. And this is one of those cards that definitely, I think, should get hit down to 1, just to keep it at 1 for the time being. And Aromach Seraphie Jasmine is definitely one of these powerful powerhouses, because you just get to tribute a monster this card points to, you special summon a plant monster from your deck in defense position. That effect is a hard once per turn. The other effect is, if you gain life points, you can add a plant from your deck to your hand. So that effect is not a hard once per turn. Being able to get multiple searches in a turn is definitely very powerful, especially on this card specifically, because of how powerful plants can be. And also, this is definitely a hit to shorten the turns for the deck, because sometimes they can take up so long that 30 minutes go by. Now, a lot of people have this on their prediction list. I have it on mine too, being Heavy Storm. This card could come back to 1 because we have Feather Duster, Lightning Storm, Raigeki, Dark Hole, all of those legal. And this card is just sitting there. And I definitely think that this is going to be one of the ones that could come back because of the type of decks that we see play, and also what format I kind of want to push the game into. But realistically, Heavy Storm would be a nice utility card just to have for a lot of decks, because it's just another back row removal. And realistically, with the world of 3 Raigeki, 3 Dark Hole, 2 Lightning Storm, that is 8 cards for monster removal. Then you have Feather Duster plus your Lightning Storm, and that's 3 spell trap removals. So giving them another spell trap removal is absolutely fine. Now, after that, I kind of want to see this deck get hit, because it's one of those annoyances in the format, and I really don't have many annoyances in the whole game outside of a situation here and there. But Sen'jin Summoning, I would like to see this card go down to 1, because it's just a miscellaneous source, just like how it is, because it's on a field spell and it's a reinforcements of the army, so they put Misk and Rhoda into 1 card, and that could definitely be a very toxic duo. Now, overall, Sinjin Summoning is definitely one of those cards that can get hit in the future because we've seen OCG hit it before they even got Genroku. And I can see TCG following suit later on, either this next list or even the list after, depending on how they take things. Now let's get into the semi section because there's quite a bit to talk about here. Actually, no, I have one more card that I forgot to grab because I'm hitting a certain card. I'm hitting Celine, so where's the Electromite? Electromite, I would like to see come back to 1. Pendulum decks haven't been the same since it got banned in 2020. It's been 4 years since it was banned. And also, hitting Celine definitely can hinder some of those the link up mechanics where you go up into your links from 2 to 3 to 4. And especially hitting Celine hurts a lot of the Appaloosa inlines, but you also have things like Beyond the Pendulum and Exceed the Pendulum now legal in the TCG and OCG, even though that they also have Electromite. But definitely one of the cards that I think should definitely come back, because it would be nice having a little toolbox here and there just to play around with to see what happens. Now, after that, let's talk about semi-limits. I have a few of them. I do. So first off, since we put Armageddonite to 2 on the last list, I could definitely see Dark Grepher follow suit very soon, because those two always go hand in hand. They were both released together. They were both hit around the same time, one list apart. So it would make sense putting Arma to 3 and this card to 2 on this list. So realistically, you can go, oh, we put Grepher to 2, and we're going to put Armageddonite to 3. So overall, that could definitely help out a lot of the dark decks that are running around that need it, but there really isn't a deck that need them. And realistically, they aren't as powerful as they once were. But overall, definitely one of those things that I would like to see come off the list. And also, I did totally forget another card for the limited section being Opening to the Spirit Gate. They already run 1 Dark Beckoning Beast, they run 1 Chaos Summoning Beast, and 2 Gate at least, maybe 3 sometimes. So hitting Gate to 1 definitely hurts the consistency, and they have to run the monsters, so those can get hit by Imperm, Valor, or whatever. Now, after that, let's get back to the semis. All 4 of these can either go to 2 or go to 3, and it won't matter. So, realistically, I would like to put them to 3 because of how slow they are, how realistically they are going to be going to 3, because OCG just put them to 2, and I could see TCG following suit really soon. So I'm just going to keep them in the semi section for the time being, because honestly, 2 or 3 doesn't really matter. It would be cool seeing people play Dragon Ruler splashing into something else. Again, like some have tried. And we also seen Blaster in Tempai Dragon banishing off a Gold Sark, but you can also pitch it with a Tempai to blow something up if you open up an interesting hand. Now, after that, let's take a talk about a certain card here. Danger Jackalope. This is a card that I could definitely see coming back off the list over time, along with Tsuchinoko, but I don't have Tsuchinoko on this list, sadly. But I kind of want to put all the dangers back to 3 over time, like how they did Nessie some time ago. And realistically, Nessie going to 3 really hasn't done anything outside of being played in danger. But realistically, all the dangers can go back to 2 or 3, and any card that I put in the 2 can go back to 3. Now, I did originally have these 2 cards going to 3, but I kind of want to test the waters a little. We've seen in OCG that they put Change of Heart 2, and this is also at 3 in Master Duel. Same with Snatch Steal. This card went to 3 in the OCG, I believe. and in Master Duel, and realistically, both of them to 3 in the TCG would be crazy, but not really crazy enough, because we've seen them do crazier things, and this does help out this going second style decks if they need more board breaking apparatuses, I should say. But overall, definitely these two can come off the list over time, especially with how the game's been going and how much these cards really matter nowadays. As we still have Triple Tactics Talent at 3, why not just have these at 3 as well? People won't max out on Snatch Steal unless they can search it within their deck via their actual deck, and Change of Heart is just honestly a really good card. Now, let's talk about cards going to 3. We already talked about Armageddon Knight. Card's not as good as it once was. And in decks like Orcust, you still have Grisou, the Orcust Mech Knight, which is just a better normal summon overall. And it pairs with Dark Grepher that you really don't need these anymore in decks, and they could just shift their way to 3 and not really do much. Dino Wrestler Pinkertops, this is going to be a QCR in the Megatins, so might as well put it back to 3. For the time being, because a lot of people do use it as a side option, but realistically, I definitely think that pink 2-3 won't really change much, because 2 or 3, it doesn't do much. Even back to that in 2019 when it was at 3, I was only siding 2 because extra or side deck space was interesting, a little tight, and especially now with side decking super tight, it's definitely an option to toss up. Now, these 3 I'm going to put together. Denlong, First Eating Zing, Ib, the World Chalice Justiciar, Justicar, and Ancient Fairy Dragon. These 3 have been sitting at 1 for quite some time. Ancient Fairy Dragon with an errata, Denlong and Ib both came back, and none of these cards have done anything. Ancient Fairy Dragon might have done a little something here and there, but realistically, these 3 cards can go back to 3, and it just cleans off the ban list of 3 more cards that really don't need to be there anymore. Another card that doesn't need to be there anymore being Divine Wind of the Mist Valley. This card was used in a random FTK with Ancient Fairy Dragon back in 2013, but since Ancient Fairy Dragon's errated, and most of those cards in that deck are errated or banned, it realistically doesn't do anything. If I'm not missing anything, you could run it in something like Tri Brigade if you want, but you really don't have the wind monsters to bounce back. And I would like to see Mist Valley also get support in Terminal World 2, so this is my hope right there. Now, on to the final card. For my predictions, being Time Seal. People don't play it at 1, people won't play it at 3. It's easy as that. And that is my predictions for now, and I kind of want to talk about future hits and cards that won't be hit. So for future hits, I kind of want to see Albion the Sanctifier Dragon definitely get banned in the future because of what it promotes, even though Master Duel banned both Ido and Gimmick Puppet Nightmare, but I definitely think that banning Albion is a better option because they'll just replace the card that you banned, because you have Raw Disciple, you have the DDD Pendulum Monster, you have DD Orthoros, and so many other cards that people are just going to try out and use. Appaloosa Bow, the Goddess, I definitely don't think that this will be hit because of the precedent that it has, especially with Rarity Collection 2 protecting her for another list. So she could possibly be hit in the future, but I don't see her getting hit, especially if you take out a card like Selene, so you don't really have that easy way to get up into the Appaloosa. After that, we have Arch Nemesis Protoss. I think he's here to stay. He could go back to 3, and people will still only play 1. Bonfire won't be hit because the president of the Megatins having Maze of Millennium cards in it, which is very shocking. So there's that for you. A future release. For Performate Plush Fire for a future release. This will be going back to 3, in my opinion, with the new errata that it's getting. And this is going to be in our early year maze set that we're going to get next year, which is very easy to predict. Other cards that won't be hit, I would say Promethean Princess, Snake Eye Ash, Kashtira Fenrir. Future releases being Infernity Archfiend. I should just rename this as Future Thoughts. Infernity Launcher. It can go back to 3. People aren't going to play Infernities, really. And with Archfiend back at 3, it could just come back. Pot of Prosperity, I could definitely see getting hit in the future because of how powerful it is. Being able to dig for 6 cards and choosing one of them is really, really good. Chicken Game can come back to 3. It's not going to do much. Gateway to 6 Samurai definitely could stay where it is. Magic Spectre Unicorn Kieran, that could go back to 3 and nothing will change. Shifter is one of those weird ones, but realistically, I really think that there's a lot to go on with the game and what there's thoughts about. And realistically, these are my predictions for the August ban list. And if you guys did enjoy, hit that like button down below and tell me your thoughts on what could be hit or not. Am I going crazy, or have I slammed my head against my desk too much? So tell me that in the comments down below. But anyways, I've been Bolt Spider. See you guys in the next video, and goodbye.